What's up, heathens? How are you guys doing today? I'm doing alright. Today we're going to be continuing on with Max Kolbe's State of Atheism video. I have a few friends that he kind of called out in the stream and made some accusations against them, so I wanted to kind of give them their own video to respond to him. So there's going to be this video today, and then there's going to be another video on Monday, and that'll be it for this, I promise. Today, Max is accusing a few fellow atheists of having cognitive dissonance, and the idea that Max is somehow breaking through that cognitive dissonance to get them to open up their minds to Christianity. So if you're interested in this aspect of the stream, please stay tuned.
And others will tell you Christopher Hitchens got caught plagiarizing in his book God Is Not Great. And what he was plagiarizing was stuff out of the League of the Militant Godless, that went back to the early to mid 20th century.
Yeah. Okay, so I've checked this claim out about Christopher Hitchens, and not that I feel like he needs to be defended on this point, but Max is wrong. Hitchens was never called out for plagiarism, nor did he ever actually plagiarize. The only reference that I could find of this claim is a WordPress article that was written some time ago. And basically, the points that they outline are where both source materials are regurgitating information about historical things. I'll have the article linked down below if you want to go and decide for yourself, but it really just seems to me like Hitchens and this other person were reciting the same stories, which ideally shouldn't really change all that much. But to them, this is plagiarism.
Hello? Yeah, I've got these young and new ones coming up, and they're very, optimistic about spreading atheism. But, I've had talks with a few of them now. Like yes. I had a fabulous talk with Emperor Atheist and Shannon Q and Godless Cranium recently. And I think I've set off enough cognitive dissonance in a number of their people. Not that they're, my magic Catholic powers are making them come to Jesus, but they're starting to come to grips with the fact that really smart people will reason their way to thinking there's God and aren't going to change their minds.
Oh, well, why don't we ask them, to their face, how they feel about this particular statement? Shannon, Emperor, GC, what do you say?
Hi, Godless Engineer. Thank you for having me on. I am Shannon Q from the Heathen Hour podcast and also the Apologia channel here on YouTube. And I recently had a discussion with Max Kolbe, along with Emperor Atheist and my partner on the Heathen Hour podcast, Godless Cranium. I'm not feeling any particular level of dissonance after having that conversation. I did go and follow the rabbit trail that was laid out for us by Mr. Kolbe. He mirrored the video of the podcast on his own channel, and in the description of that video, he included the links to the peer-reviewed research he said that he was going to provide to show the evidence, the scientific evidence for the soul. So I looked into the links myself and didn't bring up any dissonance with me. I have a background in psychology, and most of the links that were on the video that it directed me to actually had to do with brain plasticity. Some of them were very, very interesting reads, but none of the studies that were conducted were conducted in order to prove that there was a soul. It seems to be that the fact that there's something called the mind-body problem within the neurological field, which is essentially that we can't point to any particular area of the brain and say that this is the area where our consciousness is housed. It's a philosophical problem, and also it's not really a problem from a psychological or neurological perspective. It's just something that we either haven't uncovered yet, or perhaps maybe we never will look and find a specific area or areas in the brain that house consciousness. So it's an interesting philosophical debate. However, even if we do never find where our consciousness and our intentionality are housed in our mind, it's not an argument for God. And I'm definitely not compelled to believe that any of the research that was laid in front of me, including research on facial recognition, that was very, very interesting. That research was actually conducted because they wanted to propose that instead of facial recognition being housed within a specific area of the brain, it is actually more of a neural network specifically for the facial recognition task. That was one of the links that I was given as evidence, peer-reviewed evidence that there is a soul. The next article that was available to read, because some of them had either been redacted or deleted, was one on impairment of social and moral behavior related to early damage in the human prefrontal cortex. And one of the last ones that was available had to do with constraint-induced movement therapy to enhance recovery after stroke. All of these have to do with brain plasticity. So essentially, they have to do with your brain's ability through training to kind of remap its neural networks so that it can accommodate for damage, and or have to do with the fact that you can make conscious decisions and train your brain to recover or conduct itself in a way that it hadn't previously been able to. Because of this, because your brain is plastic, the inference that's being made is that your mind is able to control what the physical component of your brain does. Now, mind is a very abstract concept, and the ability to train your brain to do something different is an evidence of God. And to present this as your peer-reviewed research to prove the existence of the soul causes no dissonance for me whatsoever. I find it interesting. I find it very compelling within the field, but I think it's disingenuous to present it as peer-reviewed evidence for a soul, which is what it was presented to me as. So it has caused no dissonance whatsoever, I believe would be the short version. Sorry for the long version. I love me some brains, but yeah, I haven't come up against any particular level of dissonance as of yet. I did read the research that was given to me. I was being intellectually honest, but none of it was conducted by scientists for the sole purpose of attempting to find out if there was a soul. So for it to be presented as though it is making a case for a soul and that this is peer-reviewed research that shows that there is a soul, not flying with me. Anyway, thanks for the opportunity to explain why I'm, not so dissonant at the moment. Hope you're having a great day. Bye, heathens.
What's going on, people? This is Emperor Atheist. I'm responding to this is a particular excerpt from a guy named, called himself Red Pill, Max Colby. We had a discussion on Godless Cranium channel with Shannon Q a couple of weeks ago. And shout out to Godless Engineer. But yeah, Max Colby, basically on this particular video that I was pointed to, basically lied. We was talking about atheists and can they be spiritual and things like that. But anyway, he claimed in this excerpt of this, in this particular video, that he gave us peer-reviewed journals on NDEs, near-death experiences. He also lied and said he gave us peer reviews on something about quantum mechanics, saying that that's something like a soul. That is a lie. You did not do that, Max. I challenge you to that. You said demons exist and that science could prove it, and I challenged you that, and you ran from it. That was a lie. So, and I think he said this on Deflating Atheism channel. Deflating Atheism is Deflating Atheism, whoever he's supposed to be. Looked like some type of surfer kid. He's pathetic. But anyway, Max Colby, he lied. He didn't present any peer review. Matter of fact, I can just point you towards the video. We had a discussion on Godless Cranium channel, and you could see we was asking for this. Me and Shannon Q was actually asking for evidence when we was challenging him on it, and he kept running. He kept talking about he was going to bring somebody in and all this nonsense. some psychologists. So I just wanted to say that. And then he said something about he left. It was a stupid comment. Something about he left some cognitive dissonance, some type of cognitive dissonance in a lumber. I don't know what the hell he was talking about, but it didn't make any sense. The only cognitive dissonance that actually came, and I actually went about that discussion in a respectful way, was basically for Max. He kept talking about demons and all these type things. And let me say this too. We're not trying to make you be atheist, red pill. You need to take the red pill yourself. We're not trying to make you disbelieve in your imaginary God or your imaginary religion. It's not about that. And then he said about smart people. You said you made us realize there's going to be more smart people that will reason about some belief in God. I don't think you have to be really smart, Max, to believe in God. I mean, we see that all the time. Jihadists believe in God. They blow up people and kill people. Christians did it all the time. KKK, Ku Klux Klan. All these people believed in God. Your IQ doesn't have to be that high to believe in God. So I don't think we're being threatened at all by this Christian front or whatever you want to claim it is. Any of you people who call atheists name, we don't really care. It's really amusing to us, man. We really think small of you. But yeah, I just wanted to address that. Like I said, shout out to Godless Engineers, Shannon Q and Godless Cranium. Basically, Red Pill lied. He didn't bring any peer review, nothing. I mean, I don't know if he understand what peer review mean. He claimed he was going to send Godless Cranium some stuff, and Godless Cranium actually reminded him before he left out of the debate to make sure he sent all of these things, these particular journals, and it's peer reviewed. But for the record, there is no peer review for NDEs. Near-death experiences are fake. It's pseudoscience. Okay, I challenge anybody on that. As far as quantum mechanics concerned, it's obvious that Max have no idea about quantum mechanics and how quantum physics works. He have no idea about it. Science has nothing to say about a soul. I mean, anybody can go on the internet and see all of these fake links, science, and obviously when you do your homework and actually investigate these particular links, you'll see that they're basically Christian groups, intelligent design groups. They're not peer-reviewed journals. Nobody is talking about science has found a soul and none of this garbage. Consciousness, none of this outside of the brain, the material, physical brain. He also said something about, which is so stupid. He said something about supernatural entities being involved with humans, supernatural entities that exist outside the laws of physics. Come on, Max, you got to wake up, brother. That's fake. It's pseudoscience. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm Emperor Atheist. I'm out. Peace.
Hello?
Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. I got distracted there for a second. What were you saying?
Got these young and new ones coming up, and they're very, optimistic about spreading atheism. But, I've had talks with a few of them now. Like
Yes.
I had a fabulous talk with Emperor Atheist and Shannon Q and Godless Cranium recently. And I think I've set off enough cognitive dissonance in a number of their people.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Max, I like you, man, but I assure you that I don't suffer from cognitive dissonance when it comes to the question of whether or not God exists, especially if we're talking about your particular God. I just want to make that abundantly clear. I do not find religious arguments, at least the ones I've heard anyway, remotely convincing. I'm not saying our talks aren't interesting. I think they are. But I think you severely overestimate your ability to persuade me that what you're trying to sell is even remotely true.
Well, not that they're, my magic Catholic powers are making them come to Jesus, but they're starting to come to grips with the fact that really smart people will reason their way to thinking there's God and aren't going to change their minds. And once you wrap your head around that, and that we're not deprogrammable, because we don't want to be, because we've reached a conclusion we really believe. What next, guys?
What next? I keep going. I try to convince as many people as possible. You might never be one of them, Max, but I know that my message resonates with other people because I receive emails and comments to that effect on a regular basis. And just to clarify, I think a lot of believers think they have good reasons to believe in their God. I've never suggested otherwise. I think it's possible to reason yourself into believing that a God exists. I just think you're wrong, and I think my reasons for believing you are wrong are far better than your reasons for believing a God. I'm not interested in forcing anyone to do anything. I'm interested in the conversation. I'm interested in putting my ideas out there, and I leave it up to the watcher to figure out for themselves whether I'm making sense or not. I accept the fact that my arguments aren't going to convince everyone. I'm okay with that. I enjoy making videos, and like it or not, my message will resonate with some people, and that's good enough for me. Anyhow, I hope that clarifies my position. Thanks, GE, for giving me this opportunity to briefly address this video.
See there, Max? It's really only the discount Terminator that eats your shit up with a spoon.
Your argument has to be, okay, I disagree with this evidence. Here are my reasons why A, B, C. You can't just blankly declare that there is no evidence.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's cheap and it's wrong. I used to say they lie, but I'm trying to moderate my tone, but I'm saying it's cheap and it's wrong. There's evidence. If you interpret the evidence a different way, that's your business. But to arrogantly say there's no evidence, that's just nonsense.
Well, now, Max, there's good evidence, and then there's not even evidence at all, and that's pretty much what any evidence for God sums up to be. I mean, I can call anything evidence. That doesn't make it actual evidence. For instance, many Christians claim that the complexity of nature demands a creator. But when we have natural explanations for why nature is complex or why certain things happen in nature, then that means a creator is not needed. So therefore, argument from design is actually not evidence at all for God's existence. This is one example of this quote-unquote evidence that Max likes to show. This evidence, as well as others that he uses, are just nonsensical statements that just show his ignorance of science.
It's evidence I find convincing. What's your problem with it?
Well, you see, Max, my problem with it is that you chastise me and other atheists for not believing in a God. I mean, specifically, you shit talk us all the time on the internet and expect us not to answer back. I mean, when I ask for convincing evidence and you give me shitty evidence and I reject your shitty evidence, you still chastise me for not believing in your God that only has shitty evidence. So don't pretend like you don't know why we have an issue with this evidence that you present. I mean, in the same token, I can use your argument. I don't find the evidence convincing. What the fuck's wrong with you?
They had the blasphemy challenge. That was horrible, horrible stuff. They had the blasphemy challenge, if you recall. And they're another group that kind of went by the wayside. The guy...
Yeah, I want to mention something about that blasphemy challenge. Yeah, so basically it was I remember Rebecca Watson, I think that was her claim to fame. If you denounce the Holy Spirit, then you'll go to hell forever. So, you know, she challenged everybody to do that. So you look in the camera, I denounce the Holy Spirit. Yeah, watch me do it. I denounce the Holy Spirit. I guess that means as a Catholic, I must be going to hell forever, right?
Oh no! Is it like you go to hell immediately? Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 in your PayPal Patreon bank account.
No, kids, it doesn't work that way. First off, sorry, Holy Spirit, you know I didn't mean it.
Nah, I think you need to suck more Jesus dick in order for the Holy Spirit to really know that you're serious.
And second, it's like none of you even knows what you mean when you say that anyway. You don't even know what blasphemy against the Holy Spirit is. It's essentially claiming you speak for God when you don't.
Well, now this is a mishmash of different concepts in Christianity. The ultimate sin is actually denying the Holy Spirit or denying God. That particular sin is unforgivable in Christianity. All other sins are exactly the same and are treated exactly the same by God, being that they'll send you to hell unless you find salvation through Jesus Christ. This is the reason why you see homophobic people lumping homosexuals in with people that fuck dogs. Because God hates butt fucking no matter what species you happen to be butt fucking. Blasphemy, on the other hand, is just simply taking the Lord's name in vain. That can be done any number of ways, like, oh my God! God damn it! Now, this would include denying the Holy Spirit, no doubt.
Yeah.
Not for this sort of thing. It's what I think's happened.
Well, I mean, with the kind of newer crop of atheists that you interact with, like genetically modified skeptic, they don't really seem to have the fire that the old ones had. It seems like they're just kind of half-heartedly just kind of tossing off these kind of talking points, you know?
Oh shit, GM Skeptic, are you a lazy ass with your content, bro?
The most immediate problem about this is that Max and I haven't ever interacted in a significant way. These guys have reacted to 2 of my videos before, but I didn't interact with them when they did that. Just one time, Max and I were both in a hangout on Godless Cranium's channel, but our only interaction was me asking him one single question. We didn't argue, we didn't fight or anything. I asked him one question, and that's all. I actually have no idea why Deflating Atheism would even reference me here, especially when he could have referenced someone like Godless Cranium, who actually has interacted with Max quite a bit. I think that would actually make a lot more sense. There's another issue here, though, which is more problematic, I think. Max and Deflating Atheism often complain about how hateful and vitriolic atheists are, but then Deflating Atheism says here that atheists like me don't have the fire that the older atheist YouTubers did, and that we just half-heartedly throw out talking points. Apparently, being vitriolic is a bad thing, but if you're not being vitriolic, you're just half-assing it, and that's also a bad thing. In reference to me specifically, how does Deflating Atheism know I'm doing this half-heartedly, or that I'm a genetically cloned skeptic that never thinks for myself, like he said multiple times? He's never even talked to me. How could he come to that conclusion without a ton of assumptions? He's got no clue who I am and obviously doesn't care to know even when he's talking about me. These 2 have never even made it through an entire video of mine when reacting to them online. I mean, really, go watch them. They don't even make it to the end. Right after this, these guys admit that they're really tough on atheists, and they're pretty vitriolic. I respect their honesty about that. But then Max says that when they're like that, they're not expressing hatred, they're just shitposting. So they're not too serious. They're, you could say, just kind of half-assing it. So Deflating Atheism says that being vitriolic is a bad thing, and so is half-assing your content. And then Max admits that their content is vitriolic and that they're half-assing it. I honestly wonder if Max even agrees with Deflating Atheism at all here. Either way, this part of the video was obviously shitposting because they made some pretty glaring oversights in their reasoning here. I don't shitpost, as a rule. I care about the quality of our dialogue here because I care so much about the topics that I talk about. If these guys want to make progress on this topic, then they need to be dedicated to serious discussions and stop undercutting any constructive dialogue by shitposting. I really do think that these guys care about these issues, but these types of comments are entirely reactionary and do nothing but hinder their progress. It actually seems to me that Max is becoming more interested in engaging us in meaningful ways these days, and that's why he's sure to say that he's not trying to bully anyone and he's not trying to be hateful. I appreciate that, Max, and I hope that you'll keep that up. I think that you probably will, but the type of comments that Deflating Atheism made here are only going to hold you back from that.
Now, as you heard from GM Skeptic, I mean, he's obviously not half-assing, his atheist content. He does, cater to a certain type of crowd, but that's just general content creation on any platform. You want to find an audience, and then you want to narrow down that audience. And GM Skeptic has a specific audience that he's speaking to. And he's nailed down like his demeanor and everything like that he needs in order to reach that audience. There's nothing wrong with that, and it doesn't mean that he's half-assing atheism. Just like me, I have an audience in mind, and that's why I'm particularly harsh. The ones that don't like my content, that's fine, because my content isn't geared towards those that are easily offended. Primarily, my audience is going to be mainly atheists. Now, there are some Christians out there that don't have sticks up their ass that watch the channel, but they are few and far between. Thank you, heathens, for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you will, go down below and leave me what your thoughts are on Max's claims here, what my friends said, and any other ridiculous things that you want to point out. While you're down there, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget, heathens, stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens. I mean, you shit yourself when you die, right? Fun facts with GE! For instance, many Christians claim that no. Is it like you immediately go to hell? Don't go... Oh no! Is it like you go to